Variety Sports Network production. Now to your host.
And welcome to Talking the Gridiron. I'm your host this week, Darren Breyer. As you can see, I am by myself, so you are lucky this week. No, just kidding. I don't have Jimmy from Far Into the Bench podcast. I don't have Tyler with me from @Fatboy Fadeaway, but we want to keep this thing going every week. And I feel like this week, with it being the midweek, we have our mid-season part. We have a lot to get into. We'll be breaking down. I'll be doing it in tiers this week, so we'll be doing a little bit different Fatboy Fadeaway style here. But first, I just want to say that we are brought to you by Variety Sports Network. Follow us over there. Be sure to also use the code VSN15, and you can get 15% off anything over at Row One Brand, over at their art gallery there. So just our good sponsor over there for us. But with that said, let's get into it. Talking the Gridiron here. Week 8 reactions here. I'm going to do it a little bit differently, obviously, since I am by myself this week. So the first thing I kind of wanted to react to was just kind of the first things that jumped out to me looking at week 8. Like I said, almost we're at the midpoint of the season here. I felt like the offenses finally got back a little bit into it this week. We had a lot more high-scoring games. We had plenty of games in the 30s, and then we had a few teams even getting to the 40s. So I felt like the offense was finally back a little bit this week in the NFL. And I thought the top teams were dominant. Maybe the Niners aren't necessarily a top team yet, but I still have them in that category, along with the Eagles, the Bills, who are still playing right now against the Packers, but are looking pretty dominant, and then the Cowboys, who also got business done as well. And you can throw the Vikings in there too, but I just didn't think it was as a dominant performance. So those are some of the headlines that stood out to me as well. And as you can see, for our guys over at the Falcons, the Falcons podcast here on Variety Sports Network, as they can say, kicking was very important in their game this week. So I thought some of the kicking also was very important, and we'll get into that game here in just a minute. With that said, I'm going to do the podcast a little bit like this week. So, like I said, got no Jimmy, I have no Tyler with me this week. So instead of going game by game and kind of just breaking it down that way, I think the way I'm going to do it this week is I'm going to go in tiers. I'm gonna just rank the teams how I feel from bottom to worst. I'm not gonna go 32, 31. I'm not gonna do all that garbage. That's a waste of time. Too early in the season, you can come up with your own list in that regard. But I want to do it in tiers. So I want you to look at it in that situation. So the first tier I'm gonna start with, and it's hard for me not to go at this group first because they are my team, and I'm gonna put them in the relegated group, and that's the Raiders. What a pathetic performance today. How could I not put you at the bottom of the NFL after a performance like that this week? I mean, you even have former players on your team like Charles Woodson tweeting out things like, are you kidding me? We can't even get a point? I mean, we're talking about a guy in Derek Carr that was looked upon by some people as a top 10 quarterback coming into the league. He threw for 101 yards today on 26 attempts. I mean, are you kidding me? The definition of check down Carr today. We have Devontae Adams, does nothing, gets one catch on 5 targets. Are you kidding me? You cannot have that. And then Jacobs, again, who was playing well, does nothing on the ground. And it's just such a disappointing loss, obviously, as a Raiders fan, number one. But just the way they lost 24-0 with a new head coach when you would think that you're coming off a win against the Texans here. If you get another one, you're right kind of back in the wild card situation. And, man, what a bad loss. And what do the Raiders do with McDaniels going forward? Like, we obviously have Jimmy, like we said, and Nico talk about the Broncos side of things many times, and how much they didn't like McDaniels. And, man, it's hard to not believe them after that. Just what a bad performance overall by the Raiders. And like I said, I got them as the worst. So let's relegate the Raiders this week. And I got them as the worst team in the league as of right now. And that might be more personal in some ways, but that's what I have them out there. So that's where I'm going to go. So let's go to the next tier I have here. These would be the next line. That's what we'll see. I'm going to call it the "we'll see you next year" tier. Obviously, you might want to say these teams still have a chance. Obviously, the Panthers still had a great chance today after their game to jump back into it, but it's hard to take them completely seriously, even after just that unreal throw today at the end of the game to give them the lead, but then the boneheaded play at the end that pushes back the extra point and it goes awry, and then they miss the field goal in overtime. So that's a team we're going to see next year, the Panthers. I also got the Jaguars, Steelers and Lions in that group as well. So I'm going to throw those teams in the teams that we're going to see next year. I just don't see them being a threat at all this year. I felt like the Jaguars had their chances early in the season. They got a lot of people jumped on them a little earlier after their heart start, but Lawrence has come back to life. They lost today to the Broncos, of course. And then you have the Lions. Their offense, continues today to do a little bit, be okay, 20, but again, just can't put it together a full game, and they have one win on the season as well. So, and then the Steelers, our guy Rev over there, I'm sure he's going through it this year. Probably the first time that Tomlin will be have a losing season. So, Steelers with their rookie quarterback situation there, not looking good. So those are teams that we'll definitely see next year, and the other tier for sure. The other team I got in here, we're going to go to the next tier group here, is I got it's kind of, it's that next group where they still have a little bit more of a legitimate chance of making the playoffs in the group I just mentioned, but it's still very hard to see them getting there. So I'm going to call this, is it on sale? Is it the on sale group here? Like, can I get them for a discount? Because I don't really want to put any real money I have on these teams to go anywhere seriously at all. The Colts, who just have not been consistent at all this year, but Matt Ryan was doing nothing, and they made the change, and they've gone downhill since then. And now you have the Browns, who I know will be getting a new quarterback here in a few weeks. That might help them, but at this point, 2 wins, you can't take them very serious at all either. And then we have the Cardinals, who to me are just, I don't know, maybe the biggest enigma in the whole entire sport. You just never know what you're going to get from them week to week. It does seem like they're consistently not going to be able to put together consistent games with the game plan they throw out there week to week. And then you got the Bears, who, to their credit, they have 3 wins. They might have one of the worst teams in the league, but their offense is starting to look a little bit more respectable, right? I mean, they got 29 points today against a defense that I consider one of the top defenses in the league. So there is that side of it there. We have to kind of give them a little bit more credit in there. But like I said, I'm not going to take these teams for serious. I'm not going to count them out. I'm not going to say they're done yet, but darn, I'm close. So I'm going to say you got to give me these teams on sale. None of them am I buying in. All the Colts, to me, just one of the bigger disappointments. I didn't buy them at the beginning of the year, but we know that a lot of people kind of bought the Matt Ryan thing, and they couldn't beat the Commanders today, so they end up falling 3-5 in that division. So we'll move on from those teams. Those are the teams I want on sale this week. Let's move to another tier here that I got for us is, we're saying in there, the champ. Obviously, we know that famous line there from Dumb and Dumber. These teams are the definition of that. We're just barely hanging on, like, the sale, right? We talked about that with the last group, but these teams are just a little bit more ahead of those teams right there. So I got the Patriots, who had the big win today. Today they're going to 4-4 over the Jets. Give themselves a little chance. A typical Bill Belichick win. Has a great game plan against the quarterback, Stacey Mom, who can't get the job done this week again. Just continues to put up no numbers either behind anything he's doing. So the Jets just, man, what a little bit of fool's gold there, but we give them a little credit with the win there. So Patriots, though, they stay in this group. I got the Broncos. They obviously pulled out a win today too as well against the Jaguars. And then you have the Commanders and the Saints pull out wins as well. The Saints I keep in there. They have the 3 wins. So I was thinking about them pulling out of this group, but that division is so weak right now. The division is so bad that they're actually in 3rd place, technically in 2nd. Falcons 4-4, Bucks 3-5. They're 3-5. So I'm going to still say they got a chance to call. And so that's the reason there. And then the Patriots, of course, that anything can happen with Bill. They're getting a wild card. And then somehow the Broncos are hanging on. So that's our there. Now let's go to the next group here. This group was kind of a little bit tougher for me. I didn't really know where to put them in the group specifically. So I just kind of came up with my own group for this team. I'm going to call them the old goats group here. And the Rams, I'm only throwing the Rams in that because they're the Super Bowl champs. There's nothing to do with a player necessarily on there. It's just more the champs. So that's the idea. I'm throwing them in this group, is because you have the Packers with Rodgers, you have the Bucks with Brady, and then you have the Rams obviously with Stafford, and then, like we said, the pedigree of their team winning the championships last year. So it's hard for me just to say they're done. You know what I mean? Like I did some of these other teams ahead of us, like I did with the Browns, the Colts, the Cardinals, like those teams right there. And then the teams like the Patriots, the Broncos, I feel like they have a chance to be better than those teams still because of, like I said, because of the quarterback play and because the pedigree of some of the players on these rosters. So this is the old goats groups right in the middle. It feels like right in the middle of those, 15, 16, 17, right in that group. That's where these guys stand a little bit. Be interested to see what the Rams do going forward here in the second half of the season. They got off to a good start against the Niners, but then definitely folded in the second half like they've been tended to do against the Niners. So nothing new there, really. The Packers continue to struggle on offense, and the Bucs as well. So the old Goats group not looking good so far this year. All right, let's go down to I just like that group. This is now we had the old Goats group, right? Now we're starting to move into some of the teams that matter a little bit here. Some of the teams that I think are going to start being a little bit more of the contenders here as we approach week 9 in the second half of the season here. I got the young guns tier. We got the Ravens, the Chargers, the Bengals. We have Jackson, we have Herbert, and we have Burrow as our young guns. And I feel like I couldn't put them, I felt like, as challengers because they hadn't proven it enough to me this year with the play, the decision-making, and clutch moments. But then you see things like you do last week with Burrow heating up against the Saints and the Falcons, and Herbert has the arm strength, has the ability to get on fire. And then, of course, Jackson has been an MVP in this league at moments. He can be unstoppable with his legs. And so I have them as that kind of that group where I couldn't buy into them with everything, but I still feel like they have a chance to they still have a really strong chance to win the Super Bowl. I would definitely if you give me some good odds, I would definitely put money on these teams to pull it out for sure. But it's just their quarterbacks that keep us in play there with it. And it's weird too if you look at these teams, if you look at their coaching situations, a lot of their coaches are very similar in terms of how they approach like fourth downs and approach some of those situations in games. So I kind of feel like it's not just young guns, but it's also just their coaches, this group here. So I feel like they're kind of a little bit of a wild card to kind of make that next little jump there in the second half of the season. All right, let's go to some teams here that technically are better record-wise than those teams. But like I said, it was hard for me not to put those teams, the Ravens, the Chargers, Bengals, ahead of these next teams I'm going to mention. So this is my Believe in Miracles group over here. This is the group I have where I'm definitely just believing in miracles with them. There's no way that I can fully say in confidence that these teams they got a great chance of making the Super Bowl, right? You tell me these teams, I'm going to buy it a little bit more. Here, not so much, but if you look at the records say otherwise. So let's start with the Seahawks, the first one on the list there. They come out with a great game today. They pull out again a win against the Giants. You might be saying, well, it's just the Giants. They got to win this game. But again, it was just the Seahawks. So a lot of people didn't expect them to win it. Geno, again, continues to play well. 212 yards, not necessarily the yardage, but no interceptions, 2 touchdowns. And they have enough at the receiver position with Lockett and Metcalf to make you have to respect that outside to where they can at least now be manageable on third and running downs as well. Credit to the Seahawks as well for their defensive efforts, stopping Barkley. I thought they did a really good job on him. They held him to under 3 yards a carry in this game in particular. Jones, who on my podcast this morning I said he was my show me player of the week. He did not show me anything. He wasn't able to deliver on a West Coast game in a big moment like that. So it's, again, hard for me to believe in the Giants there. Seahawks maybe showing me a little bit more, but again, I need to see a bigger win from them. The Titans, as we get a lot of love on Twitter, seeing a lot of their tweets. Willis gets the start today. They pull out the victory against the Texans, a game they should win based on overall talent, but they were stuck starting the younger quarterback who had his moments there overall. But Henry was going to Henry, and Henry looks like we said last week. Maybe I think now he's back over Chubb again, right? Like he's starting to he's cooking now, high gear again, where he's not. People aren't wanting to tackle this man. He is running at an elite level again. So again, I can't quite give the Titans that push to that team. Like I said, I still want to take these teams over them, but am I starting to believe in those miracles? They're in first place. They have the 2-game lead, and maybe they start to build more momentum with that rookie quarterback. Their defense comes on. So there we go. Let's hit the last 2 teams here. Dolphins, a little bit. Jets. Again, miracles to me if they get to that far. I just don't see it happening. The Dolphins, you might say, have that the wide receiver talent. They have the quarterback play. Some of us might say the defense is a little bit better, a little bit in the middle there. But again, I have to throw them in this group. I can't put them as a top challenger really yet, and I can't put two, obviously, in a young gun category like that. So this is where I feel like they're right there, just in that miracle group. Can they get to that? Can they get to an AFC Championship game? I don't know. Can you get to an AFC divisional game? That would be impressive to begin with. So this is my believe in miracle group. I think this is properly placed here. It was a hard one though for me. There was a lot of teams I wanted to throw in here, but I could not do as well. The other team I forgot to put in here as well, I can now just thinking because I left them out completely, was I wanted to throw the Falcons in this group as well. The Falcons are definitely the believe in miracle group. They're leading the NFC South on just one heck of a game. I mean, as Madden-esque game as you could have, missing field goals left and right at the end, penalties there at the end. But the Falcons continue to get it done, and they get the W's. They're piling them up now over some decent teams that beat the Niners earlier this year. And Mariota, I mean, it's funny now as a Raiders fan where we had both of these guys on our roster last year, and now you have Mariota who's basically outplaying Carr. And if you look at their numbers overall in the season, Mariota's numbers are not that bad. He does have the tendency to throw more picks than Carr, as we know, but I don't know. Mariota brings more to the table with his running ability, at least in that regard. He ran for 43 yards a day on 6 carries. Carr's not doing that anytime soon. So I definitely want to throw the Falcons in that believe in miracles group for sure here. All right, let's get to the last couple groups here. The meat and potato, who I feel are the real challengers here in the NFL. Hey, tell me if I'm wrong here. I'd love to hear it from you. But these, to me, I got 6 teams. All right, I got 6 more teams here in the NFL. So here are the 3 challengers I have. Still, I have the Cowboys, the Vikings, and the Niners. Right, those are the teams that I feel like they're right there. They're on that next right. They're not elite yet, but I feel like they're the team as we get into the second half of the season could really improve, and we might look at them as legit Super Bowl contenders. The Cowboys and Vikings and Niners all have something in common: is their quarterback plays so iffy at moments that we just can't put them as a clear favorite. But they have such a team quality to them this season that it's hard not to acknowledge that ability as well. You might be saying with the Niners, well, hey, they just got to 4-4 on the year, and that's true. But I still feel like their roster is so deep, and you saw what McCaffrey could do today. I can't put them but they're not in a believe in miracle group, and they're better than say there's a chance. So I got them as a challenger here for sure. The Vikings with Cousins and their wide receivers, they're starting to pick up those W's as well. But again, they on that next tier, I would say no. I need to see a little bit more from them in the second half. And then the Cowboys, who have just been, again, just unreal again this year, is they're just their defense, when their defense kind of, goes down a little bit this week, the offense picks it up with 49 points. So it's hard to get too down on that with those teams. So I think out of those 3 teams, if I was going to have to pick who would be the number 4 out of those, I would definitely pick the Niners. The Cowboys do have the better record at 6-2 and continue to look better and better on offense. The only thing that makes me hesitant about that with the Cowboys is the way that Pollard played today. And maybe they've established something at that running back position where there's more of an equal balance there, where Elliott could get a little bit less carries down. Pollard's taking over. He was unreal today in the game. And then with Prescott back, obviously, it just gives him such a different dynamic in the passing game. So the Cowboys, to me, I don't know, 4 or 5, I guess Niners, that's the way I would go within. The Vikings 6. People would probably be like, well, Vikings have a way better record. But again, I just need to keep seeing it from the Vikings for me to put them any higher. I feel like the Niners have earned that a little bit more than the Cowboys, and Vikings might be a little bit more in that category. So those who I have as our challengers this week. One more time, just for my guy out here. Just for Logan out there if he's watching. Those are challengers here from this week. All right, let's get to the favorites here. Like I said, it's going to be a shorter podcast this week. It's just me here this week, so you only want to hear you probably only want to hear me talk about football for so long. But like I said, let's get into the favorites now. All right, we have our challengers. All right, let's revisit just real quick here before we get to it. Let's start with the bottom of the NFL, the pathetic, the worst teams in the league. Relegate their asses, the Raiders. Get them out of here. We have next in line. We have the Panthers, Jaguars, Steelers, Lions. After that, we have it on sale. We get the Browns, Cardinals, Bears, and Colts. Next, we got Patriots, Broncos, Commanders, Saints. Still got a chance there. And we have our Goats group, Packers, Bucks, Rams. Can they get it going? Can the pedigree get it going of these people? And we have the young guns, the group here with the Ravens, Chargers, Bengals. We finished up with the Giants, Titans, Dolphins, Jets, and of course our challengers, the Cowboys, Vikings, and Niners. Like I said, clear favorites. Obviously, the Eagles, Bills, and Chiefs, and I think it's in that order as well. The Eagles look, again, outstanding. They just continue to look every week better and better. You might say, again, the Steelers, not a good team. Well, you know what? They still got to play them on their schedule, and they whoop their ass. So that's part of the deal. And you have to they just beat them like 14-10. They destroyed them. And the Eagles continue to do this. Hurts just isn't. I mean, what else can you say about the man? He's probably MVP right now, easily. I mean, I mean, he's not throwing any interceptions. He's running anytime he wants. Let's see if he ran. It didn't run as much today, I saw, but he did throw 4 touchdowns again, just short of 300 yards. I mean, just special. I'm going to mention A.J. Brown here in a little bit, but that connection, man, did I underestimate that big time. All right, so the Eagles, I mean, Savage, my guy there. Let's be real. I don't know, man. They look pretty damn good right there in the NFC. They look like the clear favorite in the NFC right now, along with those challengers that I mentioned. All right, the other favorites, we have the Bills and the Chiefs. No one else. We've talked about that a lot going forward. So those are our favorites. Still, I still think the Bills are the better team overall. I feel like that Von Miller acquisition is going to play vital. So it'd be interesting going into the second half. Both these teams know home field advantage will be huge. The Bills do know that they can beat them at home. But, it'd be interesting, the Chiefs, going on the road in an AFC championship game. Well, they've always got to play them at home. So it'll be interesting to see them out on the road and get a chance there. So to the clear favorites, again, we got Eagles, we got the Bills, and we got the Chiefs here after week 8 of the season. All right, let's finish it up here. The podcast here on here talking the Gridiron Variety Sports Network. Next week we'll probably be joined again by Jimmy and Tyler. We'll be back from Hawaii. I want to do my fantasy player of the week, brought to you again by Row One Brand. Use the code VSN 15. Like I said, you'll get 15% off anything in the art gallery there. Really good stuff over there. So my fantasy player of the week is going to be an obvious one. You might say, well, maybe it's Hurts there. I'm going to go with the local guy here. I got to go Christian McCaffrey. Just his second game as a Niner. He hits the 3 touchdown mark. Very impressive. 94 yards rushing, 55 yards receiving, and 34 yards passing, throwing, getting a touchdown in each category. I think Tomlinson was the last person to do that. Maybe somebody else before that, but there's probably, I do remember a random Patriot guy doing it too. Or that might have been a return of the kicker. Adam, you'll have to help me out if you're watching here on one of these podcasts with it. So Christian McCaffrey, my fantasy player of the week, brought to you by Row One Brand. And what a game he had. I mean, just the difference. I mean, no Debo. Maybe that made it easier for Jimmy to target him a little bit. But just even the catch he made in the touchdown, that's not something a running back's going to do very often. He made a great couple third down saves, getting away from tacklers earlier in the game, and then had that run where he got to the goal line and then finished it off in the end zone. And then, of course, you have the ability to throw a 34-yard pass that opens up the playbook as well. So Christian McCaffrey, our fantasy player of the week, brought to you by Row One Brand. All right. Tradition on here, talking the gridiron now. Winners and losers of the week, brought to you by SeatGeek. Remember, if you use the code VSN over at SeatGeek, you'll get $20 off your first purchase of any ticket there. So if you want to go check out the Raiders get blown out next week in Vegas, you can sure go check out one of those games. Go over to SeatGeek, use that code VSN, and then cry the rest of the day. All right, losers of the week. I'm just going to go to it again. Raiders, the whole team, pathetic. The whole team, pathetic. And then the Panthers kicker, or I said the Panther. I had one Panther, and then DJ Moore. Great catch, unreal catch. You can't take off your helmet there and then make your kicker who sucks have to kick it even farther back. And then but then the kicker has the chance late in the game, 33 yards, which is about the same distance as an extra point. He bricks that as well. So maybe it wouldn't have mattered at all. The loser of the week, Raiders and the Panthers, DJ Moore. Winner, A.J. Brown and the Eagles. They go 7-0. A.J. Brown ends up with 6 receptions, 156 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Are you telling me the Titans aren't missing him? I bet they are. And he had them all in the first half. The man's electric. He's just getting open at any time he wants, and Hurts is looking for him at all costs. So those are my winners and losers of the week. Again, thank you for joining me this week on Talking the Gridiron. We'll be back next week for week 9. We'll have Jimmy, we'll have Tyler back with me hopefully here and we'll be able to kind of dive into some of the things I talked about. Maybe we'll have maybe they'll have a little comment or two on the tiers I had. But again, thank you for joining us here on Variety Sports Network. Be sure to check it out. And again, relegate this team. Get them out of here. Get this team out of my sight. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Peace.